Hi, buckle up, critical, because today we welcome the one and only Filipe Albuquerque, the man who went from the peaceful streets of Coimbra to the world's fastest, most nerve-wracking racetracks. Filipe didn't just start karting like many kids. He basically made the track his second home. At an age where most of us were worried about bike training wheels, Filipe was already dreaming of overtaking everyone in sight. Filipe is the kind of guy who can tell you how to shave milliseconds of a lap time and what software updates your car could use too. He doesn't leave this technical stuff to engineers. No, he wants to know what's under the hood, how it's calibrated, and why it could be faster. He's a real-life IT department meets Formula One. With big wins like Daytona, 24 hours of Daytona under his belt, Filipe has done it all. Well, except slow down. Today, he is here to share the secrets on what keeps him so fast, why he has such a love affair with software, and what's next for racing tech. So, if you ever wonder if a racing driver could also be a tech nerd, wonder no more. Welcome, Filipe.
Thank you very much.
When did you... when did you first realize you had a need for speed?
Not in my first attempt on driving a go-kart, because I was so slow that the track owner gave me another lap because I was so slow. But yeah, but was early age. I think at 8 years old, I was already telling my mom that I don't see myself doing like a normal job from 8 to 6 with a briefcase on my hand. So just racing is what I want.
Yeah. Speaking of that, how many times did you spin out on your very first kart race?
It was impossible to spin because I was super slow. So the kart would never
slow.
spin. Yes, I was really, really slow. But because I'm the younger brother of the family, and the younger child, and my brother went first, and he said, "Take it easy because you can get hurt."
Okay.
So I really, really went slow, and yeah, because normally I would be the nutter in there, but so I took it easy, and yeah, and slowly progressed.
Okay. And as a fellow Coimbra kid, how did it feel growing from quiet hometown to racing around the world?
It's kind of crazy though, because I come from a city that the history of Coimbra, it's like mainly doctors, lawyers, and students, and there is no tradition of producing race car drivers. Even if in the past we had here the Rally of Portugal in the center, which everyone knows around in the world, in the motorsport world, everyone knows the big rally stages around here, that it was just a dream. Now we have back again. But I didn't went to rally, I went to single-seaters, trying Formula One, and now in the endurance racing. So it was going on, taking a step, and that's what I say normally to kids. Just don't think, yes, it's nice to set a line like you want to go to Formula One, but sometimes you need to be realistic of where you're going to achieve, right? So I took it like, let's go first on the nationals, let's test myself on the European Championships in go-karts, and test myself against the others, and take it a step by step, because already the road is so long and so hard that if you only dream about the end or where you're going to be, it can be deceiving, or it can be hard that when you do not achieve, that you're going to go down. So enjoy the pain, enjoy the long road, and eventually, overcome yourself. So today it's crazy, and I'm super proud, and I am proud to say, wherever I am in the world, to say, I'm from Coimbra, and I don't care where you're from, but in there, that's how we do.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm proud of that.
So enjoy the ride. That's the message.
I'm for sure that.
Okay. We all know that racing is about speed, but when did you first realize it was also about software updates?
So basically, I'm kind of in a transition of generations that. When I was in go-karts, it was just the engine, the mechanic outside, and, literally engine, combustion engine. So only in the last, I would say, 2020, 2004, 2014, when I did the first time Le Mans, my car was an LMP1, a prototype from Audi, and it was just electric and a lot of software. So it was the first year that I saw, which normally before was like, I don't know, 20 engineers, like two or three engineers and 20 mechanics. And that time there was 100 engineers for 8 mechanics. And the transition was big. So I could start seeing it there, and the steering wheel, as you could see, like back in the time in Formula One, like Ayrton Senna, they had like 2 buttons. Nowadays, my steering wheel, I just got like to Cadillac now, and we had a PDF file of 100 pages to read about it. And it's just like, holy cow, just like, it was actually intimidating, because given or not, like we, as a race car drivers, I mean, we just like to touch and to be physical and to be out there. Just like, long PDFs and long meetings, it just sometimes gets bored for us. It's just like, I need to touch. And I got intimidated, but again, it goes on so much software and so many pages and this and this and that. And then we say, and then we are driving at 340, cold tires, like overtaking other guys, and look at that, and the engineers tell you on the radio, okay, go multifunction 8, position 88, and press OK. Got it. And you need to do that, and I tell you, 1 kilometer comes really fast. At that speed, when you're doing and you look up and it's just the board is there. So I would say big time 2014, which one I realized that, wow, this is taking over 2014.
Okay. And in those races, how do you handle the tough choices like pit stops or snack breaks?
Well, it's all about performance in there. It's just like, again, another thing is, over the time, we have evolved so much for making a car comfortable and the car so much on the limit, and study with software like how much can the pieces last at the very limit for 24 hours, that before it was on the limit of the machine, around 2010, something like that, they would, through the race, they would start upshifting the gears a bit earlier to save the engine, to save the suspension, to save the car. And nowadays, it's just crazy because it's on the limit of the human being. We are going out there for 3 stints, which is normally like 3 hours. You can go up to 4, but flat out. And the car can take, the engine is always on the limiter, the car can take the curbs, so it doesn't break. And that's, again, a lot of study, a lot of Excel files on studying the miles of each piece, and the engine, like checking all the data and the amount of sensors that the car has nowadays. It's just crazy.
Now, speaking about luck, which is something that we can't quite factor into software, but it's a big part of what you do. How much of your success depends on the unpredictable versus your skill?
I think they are hand in hand. So I learned this with the guy from Red Bull, the guy with Dr. Marco. I don't know who follows Formula One, but anyway, he's a very old school Austrian guy that, I say Austrian, he's Austrian actually, but it's just black and white for him. And it's easy to say luck and unluck many times in whatever you do in your life. But if you look at numbers, and here it's a good audience, if you look at numbers, and I did that exercise, numbers, they don't lie. So what I say is, like, because we are emotional with our own results, with what we want to achieve, and it's normal to say, I just had bad luck here and I had bad luck there. Because whatever reasons, you will always find an excuse to justify your success. But if you put down on a sheet the qualifying results and whatever, results on qualifying and racing, and it's always down, there is something wrong. It's just not bad luck. And sometimes I need to do that even to myself. Even I can tell you by my head exactly what happened, and sometimes, yes, it is bad luck. And in the meantime, over my years, I believe that there is kind of a snowball effect, that when things are going well, it goes even better. And when things are going wrong, it goes even worse. It's just interesting, but it's hard to say, but I've experienced it. And
felt it, yeah.
And it's, kind of crazy. I don't believe in other forces or whatever, but I'm a little superstitious, but little stitious. And so dedication, hard work, covering all the parameters of it, of what it puts a race, for sure it can make you to have a better luck than other people. And without saying is, there is no champions without luck. So you always have a margin. I don't know how much is that percentage. I don't know. There is a percentage of it that it doesn't depend on you. Yes, I agree. But it's a tough topic.
Yeah, you have to thank your family, yourself, and a little bit of luck when,
For sure.
when you win. Okay.
For sure.
Okay. Now, while the law may prevent the majority of us from experiencing it, what is it like to push a car, especially a prototype that hasn't been out to the public, to its limits?
Oof. How is it to push a car to the limits? I mean, it goes on, and because we started so young at go-karts, and the go-kart is the most simple thing. So there is no suspension, but there is the beginning of physics of what makes a go-kart, how it works. So by now, the car then it goes on to aerodynamics. When you go over 160 kilometers per hour or less, a little bit less, you start to go into the aerodynamics. Aerodynamics is a super important point to go fast, obviously. And I think what in the end of the day is like the complexity of the car. Nowadays, it's a lot more because it's just not the mechanical and combustion engines. My car nowadays, in prototypes, the rear axle, so it's completely electronic. So there is so many things that we can do on the car, and it's enabled us now to do it on the steering wheel. I can change the car balance, how the car behaves on the corner, going in, mid-corner, with simply faking a differential on the rear axle, because we have an electronic engine in the rears. I know that you're lost. I lost you there.
That's with him.
I lost you there, but some of them in there, they will understand. Anyway, so just let me finish. So you can fake something on the rear axle and change the complete behavior of the car. So all of this is just made us like that. The driver no longer is that guy that this guy knows how to drive. No, he needs to be able to drive, to think what he needs to drive while he's doing it, and think about the surroundings, because we have 60 cars on track, thinking about that's a GTD in front, which is a GT, a different class, that you need to overtake. So like an engineer said, like half of the brain is to drive, another half of the other brain is to think of what you're doing. So it's a very complex, and we could be here talking for hours about the complexity of this, but if you do the normal ladder, the ladder of it to get up to the top, it becomes kind of natural.
And speaking about brains, how do you keep your head in the game?
Yes, that's again, when you're doing what you love. So basically, in school, I used to struggle a lot, because if it's to put something that I don't like and it's not my interest, it just literally goes through one side and leaves the other side. It's just I just don't like, and I just can't. And if I don't comprehend, it doesn't go. But if it's something that I really like and I kind of want to understand how it works, the focus is completely in a different dimension. It's just, I don't think about anything else. And I think as well that the concentration as well obviously comes from working out, doing runnings. For example, I like to run like 10 kilometers, up to 10 kilometers without music. So my head, through those 10 kilometers, it thinks about many other things, but try to focus your attention. Like sometimes I start going over here and I just bring it here and focus. Then gym, obviously keeping your fitness levels high, so then that the body does not get tired and makes you do a mistake. That's the difference, I think, then there.
And how's a typical day in your life now?
Well, when I'm home now, which is not so much time, there is a lot of testing, a lot of races and places to be. But when I'm home in Coimbra, I tend to be fully dedicated to my daughters and my family. So I'm a family man, like take my daughters to school, go to the ballet and do ponytails, and I eventually even went to a ballet class because my daughters were so happy. So I was there just doing some ballet class, which that's me. And so I tried to do the work all on the planes to by now going to San Francisco, to New York or Orlando, it's a routine. taking a plane. I know my planes already by head. That when I go back to Daytona, I will take the United Airlines UA 65, and I go to New York, and then I go to Orlando. It's just a routine around the world, but it's a routine. But when I'm home, I'm really chilled. I like to go run in the Chopal in Coimbra. It's really quiet. It's nice, and I choose Coimbra as well because it's quiet. My day normally in the racing is literally with meetings at 7:55. It's a meeting until 8:15. 8:15 I get dressed. At 8:30 I need to be in the car. From 8:40 to whatever 9:30 I have a session of, training session, and then I have another meeting. So the whole day is on meetings. So when I go home, I'm just relaxed, and eventually I arrive late sometimes when I'm in Coimbra. But when I'm abroad, it's just I'm on point.
And finally, did you feel like going from a Ferrari to a go-kart when you moved from the Formulas to the GT?
Come again from a Ferrari?
From a Ferrari to a go-kart.
Yes. Yeah. Again, it's interesting because I think a go-kart can give you maybe a little bit more feeling of speed than a Ferrari. And I tell you this because in a go-kart, you're literally nearly touching the ground. The go-kart, even if you go over a curve, you feel it. And the revs of the go-kart and the vibration of the go-kart, it just gives you the sensation of speed. Sometimes people ask me, how fast do you go? How fast did you went in your life? And I did, I think, 350. But it didn't feel like that because you are in a controlled, safe area with, 8 meters wide, an amazing car that is designed to be at that speed and a big runoff area. And a go-kart at 120 kilometers per hour, you feel like that thing is going to explode with the RPMs of the engine, especially with the two-strokers before, like it was a lot of RPMs. It's emotional. So I think a go-kart is when you start to get addicted about it, like all those emotions when you're driving a go-kart. It's just like, I just love it. And you feel a little bit of for life. And because you know that you're not 100% safe. I mean, if you don't brake, you're going to crash the tires, and who knows what's going to happen. But that feeling there, it's what makes you feel alive and what makes you, the adrenaline kick in, and no matter what you are, you will be focused doing it because you are in the moment. You are not thinking about anything else. So I would still take a go-kart over a Ferrari. Obviously, it's a Ferrari driving around the road.
Are you addicted to that adrenaline by now? Do you think that?
Yes, 100%. Yes, yeah. I like to feel alive in a way. Like often I just did a race in Caterham in Estoril, which is a small cars. They do 200, and you are on the limit. And literally was a crash in front of me. I just avoided, but I fear for dear life in that moment there because God was just completely horizontal to me, and it could be a big one. But after I experience, I just say, whoosh, and off I go. And
I'm alive.
Exactly. It's just nearly crashed back there, but okay, let's move on. It's literally like that, but it puts a smile on my face.
Okay, Filipe, now that we have completed this round of getting to know you questions, I'll let José take charge.
Okay.
So, hi everybody. Thanks again for being here, Filipe. It's a pleasure talking to you. My first question would be, you have a huge career by now with a lot of different experiences, coming from go-karts into formulas like Red Bull and GTs and now here endurance racing. What has been the biggest technological breakthrough that you've witnessed in these years?
I think was again 2014. Those cars in Le Mans, that they were building a car just for doing Le Mans with electric engine and combustion engine. So we went up to the pinnacle of it was 2016, 17, something like that, and which you had like obviously then the regulations cutting you off, but the car was 950 kilograms, around 1,000 horsepower or over, four-wheel traction, and it was just crazy. And the fuel consumption of that, because we had to meet all those rules that FIA and ACO, the Le Mans race, was putting on. It was like you could not exceed, actually, like we did the calculation back then. We were doing average of 265 kilometers per hour around Le Mans, which is a fast track, obviously, but we were not far from 20 liters per 20 liters per 100 kilometers. You need to put it in perspective. It's a race car that it's made to be racing fast. For example, a rally car, it makes like 50 liters per 100 kilometers. Obviously, then they know how to turn it down when it comes to the commercial car. Obviously, it's way more efficient, but it's just a different topic. But going that fast and be so efficient, it was just incredible. And all the tools that we have there, for example, by fuel saving, and the car would automatically cut off the throttle to get you the most efficient to get to the braking zone and save fuel and be the most efficient to get out of the corners. It was mind-blowing. And again, this was already like 10 years ago. And this shows how much engineers and these brands can do to make an advance into cars.
Nowadays, with the hybrid engines, ICE, internal combustion plus the electrical part, you stop talking about miles per gallon or liters per 100 kilometers. So now you're talking about power or power levels, right?
Yes.
And how did you get used to that? And does the car help you anyhow?
Well, to be honest, by now we stopped talking about points that it's common to everybody. For example, the tires are the same for everybody now, and in the past was different. So the way that the champions came up to make a fair championship, which is different than from Formula One. Formula One, they come up with a regulation, and it's open in various reasons up to a point, and it's open for the teams to come up with the fastest car. But then it leads to what we have been seeing in the past 4 seasons, that Red Bull made the best car, and it has a great driver, and they have money, and no one can touch it. It's always winning the same. In our one, we have a thing that is called balance of performance. And some people will hate it, which sometimes I hate it, and sometimes I can understand for the scope of the show, I understand, and I think is important. What is the balance of performance? So basically, in order to reduce the costs for the manufacturers to come up to the championship and do a car, they put it like a bunch of regulations that you build a car and that's it. You cannot change much. You can change the fine-tuning, the springs and the ride heights, the basic stuff. Otherwise, it would escalate on costs, on testing more, changing the engine, changing the aerodynamics, and that's money, literally money, going to the wind tunnel hours and hours and hours. So by now, all that thing is regulated, and you cannot put new pieces into the car, otherwise the cost will go up, manufacturers will go away, and there is no cars. So the balance of performance came to limit that. So at the moment, in my category, it's like 1,030 kilograms to 750 horsepower limited, and with a drag number accord to them. So if you make a car, because in year 1 you make the best car, that's it. The car was going to be regulated for 4 to 5 years, so you can make it last. So you would build the best car, that's it. You're going to win 5 years in a row. That's boring. You will lose interest. I will lose interest because I know I'm going to the next race, that I'm going to lose the race because that guy has the best car. So what they did with the balance of performance is they give weight to this car that's a little bit better, and they take a little bit of power, depending on the tracks, because some tracks are better for the other ones, and make things more interesting for the audience and for the drivers, even if sometimes doesn't sound fair. But again, in the end of the day, it's they try to make it a fair adjustment and not handing over to the other guy to win.
You were talking a little bit about regulations and stuff. I wanted to ask you, what was the best software or tech aids that you got or that you have seen, and the worst, the one that you don't like or you feel like it's not good for the sport?
Okay, I start with the worst. Okay? In racing, I hate ABS. I hate ABS, and to be honest, it's one of the reasons why I didn't push to be a GT driver. As a GT driver is like the Audi R8, the Ferraris,
cars.
the Porsche, the Gran Turismo cars. Those cars by now is on the racing, they have ABS. So what happened is you need to go on the limit of the system, which, trust me, this is crazy. And you can try maybe in your car. Note, very important note, okay? Be sure that you are, with nobody behind and in a safe road. But and when I do co-drives with somebody next to me in a track, I think that's where they get the most impressed. It's like we go flat out and you slam the brake as hard as you can. And it's going to be fine because the hardware, the pedal, the pads, everything is ready for that. In fact, when you're about to crash, you do that. You just don't realize, but you do that. But we put up to 80 to 90 kilograms of force on the pedal, so you can have an idea. So try to slam it, and what it will happen is the car will come on the pads, on the discs, and ABS as a system will read that the wheels are about to lock and will release the brakes. The car most likely the pedal will vibrate a little bit, and will do this, but it will go straight. And it will brake the car in the most efficient part. And that's amazing. The road cars, the commercial cars, like all your cars, will come the 4 arrows, the hazard arrows, because it tells you like something is happening, you're about to crash. So, but it's interesting how close and how efficient you brake. In racing, I hate that because any of you can brake exactly what I brake. And that I cannot make a difference. And when you don't have ABS and you go by the feeling and you brake hard, you will lock. And what happens when you lock a wheel at 300 kilometers per hour, the wheel will be stationary for 80 meters. And what happens is the tire will wear down and it will be completely flat spotted. So when you release the brakes, the car will be vibrating so much that you struggle to see anything, like just vibrating a lot. Eventually, it will fail and completely break the entire car because the tire goes apart. So the ABS prevents that, so don't worry. But I hate that, just explain to that. And the thing that I like the most, I would say one thing that is very nice is traction control. Okay. Because obviously when you have 750 horsepower for 1,000 kilos or whatsoever.
It's very easy to split out.
Yes, you can easily spin around, obviously, but I like kind of that challenge, and I'm a guy that likes the TC a little bit looser, and I think there is some skills on that. But I would say another skill down is like another software that is coming, and it's just now on this Cadillac and this new regulation. Because the rear axle is electronic, you can simulate a lot of things that the rear can do, so you can adjust the car balance as it goes. So what the car balance is, a car slides in the front going into a corner, so obviously you will not like that. So you can change how the car behaves in the rear, entering into a corner that makes the car kind of rotate with this saying, is like the rear can come around and do the corner most efficiently. And we don't need to stop in the garage and make a mechanic do a change and then go out again. No, we can change on settings on the steering wheel, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you can even do that turn by turn.
100%. So we are still studying some stuff, and actually to make distance-based, but I don't know who's listening, so if it was off the record, I would tell you more, but maybe there is some people out there that cannot listen what I'm saying.
Okay, that's impressive, and I'm pretty sure that the car turning on itself will be very advantageous for going to the next straight.
Yes.
Okay, now talking a little bit about endurance and Le Mans, which was created to prove that cars could last for 24 hours racing, and because cars weren't trusted at the time in early 20th century. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, cars have evolved a million times. We talked a little bit about telemetry and data that gets recollected. How is that used to prepare races, improving the cars? Can you move data that's recollected in one track to the other? Those kind of things.
So there is a lot going on now. For example, they are preparing the cars for Daytona, which is in January. So putting all the sensors around the car, we call like the loom, which is a big, big, thick cable that it goes around through the car, and it goes to each wheel, to each brakes, to calibrate the oil temperatures. Just there is so many sensors in the car to calculate all that thing, and which is super important. The preparation the mechanics, they have one engineers to calculate, to put everything working together, all the sensors. There is not even one cable, which, for example, Daytona this year, 2024, there was a cable that was not really attached to the cockpit, and it started to do vibration, and it cut one of the cable, which made it short, and the car just died completely. And what was interesting was, I smelled it. I was in the car, and I was like, smells burned. And I thought it was the car in front, like, that car, it's something funny here. And then I went on, and I passed the guy, and I felt some little difference on the power on the main straight, like, guys, there is something wrong here. And 2 corners after, the car completely died. So all that preparation comes down to the ultimum wire that is attached properly without sliding on the carbon, because then it makes short, and carbon, when it makes contact with the wires, it's just catastrophic. So in our side, we need to be fit. So I went to the gym today, and then tomorrow eventually I go run, just keep fit, doing some exercise on the neck. Even if Daytona, it's like, I believe it's 30 degrees angled as Daytona. It's very angled for the banking. You still do some neck. So when you're going there for a long time and like with your neck, I need to do a little bit neck, and as well braking we go up to 3.4 Gs, like longitudinal and lateral. Formula One is even higher. Those guys are even higher, but they're doing 1 hour and a half. We do 24 hours. So it's a bit different. But again, we don't do it all in a row. We circle through drivers. So fitness, and then we do a lot as well simulator. So in fact, next week I go 3 days for a simulator in Italy to prepare, and they have ideas or what to do, and I will guide them like, yes, this is good, this is not as good, and work out on ideas on what to evolve. I have a simulator as well at home, so eventually I do some racing as well, because it helps my racecraft. So reading and take reactions on whatever happens, an accident, try to read super quick where the cars are crashing to, take a different route. So quick decisions, it's super important, and you can only sometimes do exactly when you are doing it. Like, so sim racing is actually sometimes pretty nice.
How representative is sim racing? What are the differences between real life and sim? I guess you push a lot more in sim than in real life.
Yeah, you crash way more in a sim.
It's cheaper.
The limit is first crash and then you come back. In real life, it's the opposite. Even it's just like I got to the new simulator of Cadillac in Indianapolis, and I lost the car and in the bus stop of Daytona. And I lost, and I crashed, and I thought I was stopping at the barrier, and the car continued, and I ended up in the lake. So I felt bad for it, but again, it's a simulator. Just press restart, and it was fine. So it was okay. And again, so the simulator, it is good. You need to have like an open mind in a way that take what it's good, and don't believe what it's bad. Obviously, it's easy to say that like that, but they try to put exactly how it is in real life, right? So you do the correlation with the tire manufacturer, with Michelin. They put the forces that exactly does in real life, and they put it in a simulator. The engineers, they put exactly downforce, the power, everything the same. But then sometimes, well, most of the times, there is always a line or a number that does not match. And we feel it straight away, like, this is not right. This is just not right. And they look at it, at everything, and like it looks fine, but it's not in the end of the day. Then even the day they see a number that was not right, and it's better. And as well, the motion, right? So by now, we have a lot of motions, and we have big, gigantic dampers. I mean, it's easy to spend, these guys nowadays, like 5 million on a simulator. Like, it's just how it goes. But again, in the end of the day, you will, along the years, you're going to make that money. So the simulator, it's good to practice. For example, we use the real steering wheel, and we use the real settings. So we try different things to what happens on the track for different corners, and we get super automated by doing pressing all the switches. And we know exactly how it is, everything, by almost be blindfolded, touching the car, because there's buttons everywhere. So that's great, and I think it's valuable. And get the routine on a track, getting the gears fixed. You can see as well the downforce levels, like you prefer one or the other, and what's going to happen. But then I like always to put, yes, this is important, and then I like to leave like 3 or 4 setups, for example. These 4 we need to validate in real life. We should not be trust blindly on the simulator, because real life, it can trick you a lot. Because I give you an example. In a simulator, the grip is constant from one side to the other of the track, which when the track is green, when it's the first day of the track, the grip is pretty much like that. Yes. But after 60 drivers going around in free practice for, I don't know, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, the track starts to get the rubber from all these cars around. So the rubber starts to be in one line, and it's different from the inside to the outside. And even if we can simulate as well the bumps somehow. So the rubber and the lines are determined to the weekend of the race. Because if you have different drivers doing more a different line than the year before, then that line is the best, because you have more grip. In the end of the day, you're chasing grip constantly and top speed. That's the number one. Like, you can say whatever you want. You need grip and top speed and power. Obviously, if you have more power,
you can reach the top speed first.
You need to chase the grip to get out of the corners. And this sounds simple, but when you get so complicated on subjects, on software, and here and there, I tell the engineers, no, stop giving excuses that the car has bad traction, because it's not bad traction, okay? It's just, I have no grip. I have no grip. So, or you put me new tires, or you soften the car, or sometimes even the driver, like, that guy can make it better. So he did a different line, and he fixed it, because he found a line that it's better than the other guy. So that's why still drivers make the difference to other drivers, even if sometimes makes no sense at all. So, and that's curious. And so in a simulator, you cannot define the line.
It's always
So doing the shortest line in a simulator, and the sim racers are just pros on that. They kill me, and I hate that. And that they find the line the tightest as possible. Obviously, the less meters you do, the faster you go. But in real life, it's not like that. And like, he's just like, that's not real. And they go, I don't care, you know, like.
I imagine that you can get really bad habits from sim racing.
100%.
Because the shortest line is not the best in every single
So
case.
there you go, then the open mind. So in a simulator, when I start losing to my teammate or whatever that is a very good sim racer, I start to become a sim racer and try to go on different lines that no way will work in life, but I just be there. And in real life, okay, delete some of that part, and let's go back to real life.
Yeah. Okay, a little while ago you talked about smell, and you also talked about feeling of the car and stuff. How much does the feeling impact on the racing part? Sound, smell?
Yes. Well, so basically,
gravity.
The driver is another sensor to the car. That the mechanics by now, which to bad drivers, telemetry is the best thing. So for the engineers, they can see everything that he did in the race. So he's braking early, and he's doing this wrong, and he's doing the corner in a different gear that it makes no sense. And the engineer sees that. And this guy normally And let me include myself in that, because no one has just great days. I have 99%. Not just kidding. And so what is interesting is like, it's easy to give an excuse, like I said before, like the car is not good, so you need to make it better. And then they go on the data and they see and they compare to the driver before. Say, well, you're braking 10 meters too early in that corner. Try to fix that corner and try to do that corner instead of third, do it in fourth gear. And you go out there, yeah, but it's not that, because you cannot agree with the guy.
It's never you.
Yeah, it's never you. And you go out there, you change, and you fix, much better. What did you do to the car? And nothing. So it happens. So telemetry, it's great to the engineers and to see what's going wrong with the car. And sometimes if the car is just a little bit under power and you don't see it, and you're just losing like 2-3 kilometers per hour, which in the end of the lap is going to be like 8/10. 8/10 for us, it's crazy. Like, I'm going to rip my license and I'm going to retire. So when you're that slow, it's bad. And so again, the bad side of it is like when I know exactly what I want, it's the fight between drivers and engineers. And I picked up big fights. I'm really certain, like when I want something, I'm kind of stubborn. Well, I guess like, because sometimes I have more years than some of the engineers that are in there. And I agree that point that they are looking at the numbers and that number makes sense and what you're saying does not. And I say that's in racing, and I say this already to engineers, like, yes, it's physics, agree, but ultimately, 1 + 1 is not 2, because there is variables. There is the variables of wind, there is the variables of the track, there is the variables of the tarmac, which is different, there is patches on the track. There is so many variables, and there is the variables of the driver. If the driver is not comfortable enough to drive the car on a limit, he cannot go, arrive at Le Mans, you arrive at 300. You just downshift one gear and you throw yourself in at 260. You need to have the confidence. Even if the car is made and it's theoretically better to do that corner at 270, 262, if you don't have the trust, you cannot steer. You feel that you're going to steer and you're going to spin and you're going to crash. Rather than a car that is more comfortable and you just feel ultra comfortable, ultra confident, and you go there and you try it. The car does not do it, but you try and you are brave enough to do it. And the point, it comes exactly here. When the drivers say, the car is not good, it's not giving me the feeling, something is wrong, I don't have the feeling, this happens. And the engineer says, everything is fine. It's like, but it's not. So then you start hearing the conversation of like, you need a relationship with the engineer. And I like to say that I like some engineers with white hairs. And I explain you why. Because often teams, and a lot F1, and because in F1 it's even more numbers and more down to the numbers to performance, that the engineer that comes from the university or is a younger one, he didn't experience enough that that he needs to go through his life to see that how did that not work? But the numbers told me that. I couldn't believe this. So he needs to go through that to see for his own eyes that how is that possible? An engineer with white hairs is the one that has been through a lot of races. You've seen a lot. I've seen drivers doing things that it just makes no sense at all, but oh well, whatever makes you fast, you're going to do it. You just, in the end of the day, he learns to trust the driver and so on. And we could go on here. I have some fights with engineers that it's hilarious. And I lost some, but I won a lot of them. I mean, in the end of the day, I can make it work because I'm the driver behind the wheel, so I can make it prove that point. But I try always to be open-minded to say, you were right.
Yeah. Data is never the full picture. That's something
it
that
is a
we
big
also
chunk.
deal with. That.
But the line where it separates that, it's the hard part.
Yeah, and experience comes into play in a lot of things. Okay, well, just one final question, because I have to ask this because AI is everywhere. Has AI reached racing yet? Can you, I don't know, test scenarios, simulate races?
We are just touching it now. I've seen that actually Cadillac start working with AI, and we started. So yet no, I not touched literally with AI yet, but I think in the longer the way will be AI. But for example, strategy and race strategy, I think can be hard, but I think the challenges of AI predicts, you can predict a bunch of things, right? So in a ideal environment. But we are tricked constantly by human decisions and human errors, which our race is based on the safety car deployment. And you know that if it goes green until the end of the race, yeah, by now it's that easy that you need to stop at lap, 78 to go to the end, because otherwise fuel will not do, and it can calculate how much fuel per lap you need to burn to make the right strategy. But the catch go on is when you put a lot of gentleman drivers, you know that the last stint, which is normally never the last, the beginning of the race is where the most gentleman drivers are driving. And the most unpredictable it is the race, because you never know when they're going to do a mistake, which happens, and when it's going to be a crash. When there is a crash, there is a safety car. When there is a safety car, you just save fuel like hell, and it completely changes the strategy. And when there is a crash in the end of the race, maybe, and I lost a race like that, which infuriates me. I give you a little quick note. So we were in a race. So basically, you want to be the first one to go on the pits to the get home. So what I want to say the get home is like, there is like 40 laps you can do 40 laps with a gas of tank, and you want to pit on the lap 41. So you can save a little bit fuel, but the first one to go to the pits and out, right? If it comes a yellow in that precision moment, you are last, but still everyone has to come to the pits. But you are good to go home, right, to the 40 laps. So I pitted, and I exit the pits yellow. Like, brilliant. I'm going to win this race. And I was just enjoying, okay, you are last, but everyone in front of you has to pit to go home. I'm like, great. So after 3 laps, because you want to do it again, right? After 3 laps, everyone pitted. Well, not everyone. 90% of the field. And I went to second place. And this guy in P1, you have to go to the pits. What are you doing there? Like just leave. I was not even pushing because I knew that he had to go to the pits. He had no fuel to go to the end. And then he just decided, boom, another yellow. When he's like, oh boy, now you're going to be last, because he's the last one to be pitting, right? So when he pits, he's going to go to the end of everyone that pitted, because when you go safety car, everyone patch up, right? Do I still have you?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Because it can sound complicated. Do you understand? Do you follow me?
Yeah, I'm following you. Let's go.
Okay.
Still here.
Okay, great. So anyway, what happened was, so AI would tell you, like, there is no way this guy is going to stop in the middle of the race because he cannot do 70 laps on it. But because there was so many safety cars, you're driving at 40 kilometers per hour, you save a lot of fuel, right? So this guy decided, we go all in. He didn't pit it, and he has to save fuel, like big time, because if he goes green now, he still has like 8 laps to go, but he has fuel for 5. So safety car lasted long because they had to fix the rails. It lasted long. And off we went. I had to attack the guy to try to pass him, but he has less fuel, so he goes faster. And he came another yellow. So he won the race, just pure on luck. So, but AI on that, on strategy and whatever we all were witnessing, is like, there is no way this guy's going to win the race. He's going to finish last by now. And he won the race. I finished second, and I was so mad.
An outlier, a really outlier.
Right? So again, that tells you that you cannot predict many of the races. I think Formula One, yes, you can predict more. But that's why it becomes boring. Because predictability makes a sport boring. Because you can predict. You know what's going to happen. When you don't know what's going to happen, like you're like eighth, like there is no way. It comes a yellow, changes everything. You just come in, you do a tire change, and you end up in the lead. You don't know how. It's like, holy cow, this is great when it happens to you, obviously. But I think that's for the fans as well. It's a good show.
Yeah, it's I'm an endurance fan, and it's amazing the number of changes in leadership. And
Yes, it can be messy, but once you understand, then you get the audience. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and being in 15th at mid race is nothing.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay. Well, thanks again. I would want to ask if anyone has questions from the audience or from the other sites online.
Online we do, but let's see if we have any questions from here.
No question.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
Yeah, there is no wrong answers, no wrong questions.
And no wrong answers as well.
No, well, more or less. Yeah.
No? Okay. Oh, okay. One
Okay.
question there.
Oh, Luis. There's the mic coming down.
Okay, thank you very much. Very nice talk. I wanted to ask if you have any rituals regarding concentration and how to deal with pressure. Do you feel any pressure when you're out there, important races, etc.? So how do you deal with it?
Yeah.
Concentration and focus.
Yeah. So by now I can deal well, and pressure I think everyone has in work, and I think a lot of people is like when you go to that meeting or whatever, it just, I like to think is it's all about tricking my mind, right? That's how I think. It's about tricking my mind to do what I like and what I know what I know. So I like to think I don't care about this. I'm here for the fun, and whatever happens, then I go home to my family, and I think on those moments that I have zero pressure, which is like watching a movie with my family on the couch on a Sunday that is raining outside. It's just like my heartbeat is like 45 or whatever. That makes me calm, or being on the beach. So it's about using those memories on crucial moments. Then obviously there is moments that, especially in our sports, that we change driver, and there is a guy that is my teammate is doing well. Filipe, you go in, you need to finish. It's all in. So you win, or you are the hero, or nothing happens. So literally the weight is on you, and I do get nervous. But it's part of the game. I think if you're not nervous, you don't care. But it's mainly initially when the start goes on. And then once you are there, I think it's just frustrating, because I like to think that I want more, and it's true. I want more the result, and I want more the performance than the team owner, than the people that hired me. So the pressure is on myself, not from the team owner that hired me. Like, I want to win for me, eventually for the team, but yeah, I like to think like that, like want to win. So with age, you become better on tricking your mind to do it. And again, working out, doing stress levels, and like running at sprinting, it helps to calm yourself. So that's pretty much like that.
I can read a question from home now, from João Soares e Silva. Does the increasing technological complexity in racing cars negatively impact the simplicity of operation? Pause. Or is technology becoming more accessible and intuitive for drivers?
That's a complex question.
Yeah, it is. It took me some time.
These are complex people.
Yeah, so it's a good example. So 2014, those cars in LMP1, in Audi, Porsche and Toyota, they were there. I think the complexity of the cars and the technology was so high that the car was only working in a fine window. And the car is just driving well, and you are amazing, and the car makes sense. Or the wind change and the weather changed by 3 degrees, and the tires do not accept that. The car is just undrivable. You crash the car. It's impossible to drive it, and it's bad. So yeah, I love that car, but I kind of think it took it away, the skill from the driver. So it went too far on the complexity, and it took it away the skill of the driver, which now I think we found a good window of, again, simplicity that still the mechanics, still the driver can make the difference by counter steering. And like I hear so much that the times of Gilles Villeneuve and Senna, or even before, they were going sideways. You could see the car on the limit. That was amazing. Nowadays, everyone drives like in a sofa. Well, that's down to the technology that has evolved so much. And so I think now we are in a nice window of, it's a trade-off. Like, I think now having some of the toys of technology, it's really, really nice. It's really cool to evolve, and the work outside of the car with engineers and the relation with them, how to evolve, it's nice, rather than being too raw. I mean, too raw is cool. It's based like on James Hunt people, like, just drinking beers and just go out on talent. It's a bit out, and now we study everything, like as well, like the physics of the body, like training and doing all that. So it's a fine line, I would say that.
Thank you, João. I'll move on to another question from home, from Pedro Nunes.
Okay.
Hi, Filipe. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us. Smiley face. I also share your passion for motorsports and have a few questions. 1, how do you prepare for a 24-hour endurance race? That's one question.
Okay. So, to be honest, I prepare normal. And I'm going to quote here a driver, which was Mario Andretti. And he's very, very right. If you prepare differently for a race than anyone else, then you suck on the other races. Because it's true, you need to prepare the same. The dedication is the same. So again, simulator. The fitness is pretty much the same. Maybe I do a little bit more neck exercise because it's a long one. But pretty much is that. And I like to keep, for 24 hours of Daytona, I like to keep the jet lag from Europe.
Okay, that's interesting.
That's a tricky one. And I tell you why. And I'm answering to you as well, and I forgot about it, like during the race. How do I prepare during it, and how do I focus in the ritual for the race? It comes to the same answer to you, and I forgot. I sleep a lot. So the race starts at 1. I most likely will be sleeping from 11 to midday, if I can. I drive from 1 to 2. I get out of the car, I eat something, and I go to sleep. Because I can't sleep, because eventually will be 7 o'clock in Portugal. So around 2, 3, 7 or 8. So I sleep whatever I can. They wake me up. It's your time to drive. I don't even know where the car is. Just give me the car, put the helmet, drive as fast as I can, whatever position we are, and go. I know because the race is long. I leave the car again at 11. By now it's 11 in America, so I can sleep again. So I sleep again. So I ended up doing like 8 hours of sleep, like in short times. But it's great because sleeping for me, it's how I focus myself. How can I, restore my energy? And I kind of, again, I get in the zone, like quiet. My heartbeat is quiet, it's calm. My body recovered a little bit from the stress that I had. So yeah, I do like to sleep a lot through those tense moments, like nervousness, like the body completely relax.
Okay, good advice for us. How many hours do you practice on the real track versus the hours you put on the simulator before a race?
Wow, that's crazy. I would say 90% in a simulator and 10% on a real life. Because it's exactly this. The simulator, it's an endless. You don't burn gas, you don't burn tires, you don't burn mileage on the engine or time. You just can be on a simulator endlessly hours, and you can do 1,000 laps, which sometimes we do that. Well, not 1,000 because I would be bored, way too bored. But easily you can do in a day around 300 to 500 laps, which is a lot. It's a full day on that. I hate it, by the way, but it's part of the game. So, literally. So in the real life, you just go out, and that's the difference to the sim racers, that you go out in free practice, you have one set of tires, maybe come from your teammate that's already used, and you have like 4 laps because then it's a red flag and session 1 is over. And sometimes you don't get to drive enough. There was one time in Daytona, I drove 15 laps or 10 laps. I didn't know the car, the team, I know the track. And off I went. And I said, I prefer to give the car to my teammates, and some of them, they were pretty bad. Just put them up to speed, get them at a good level, and I improvise in the race. Because during the race, you will have more time. When you're in a race, yeah, that's different. You drive a lot, but no different from the simulator. But the practice until then, sometimes just like flip a coin on what you want to do. But it's the same for everybody. But yeah, taking those decisions, the preparation at home is important.
And now let's try to get you emotional, because he's asking, what's your favorite memory of a race moment?
It's never obviously winning. I mean, the win and the cross the finish line. I give you like another example. Like 2021 was my first race with the team that I am with now, with Wayne Taylor Racing, and they put me in the car to finish the race. And I knew we were leading, and this guy was just all over the place. And whenever if he would have passed me, he would be gone, done. I could not. I was just blocking him the whole way. And it was like 5 laps to go. And what was it, like 10 laps to go? And he was chasing me down like crazy. I was nervous, like, oh my God. And 9, 8, and then 6, and he was all over me. And 3 laps to go, he had a puncture. And I could see him like struggling on the mirror. And I'm looking at it like, okay, this is good. And I just said to the radio, just keep it cool. It's not over. There's still 3 laps to go. I just wanted to celebrate, but it's still 3 laps to go. So I never celebrate before the ending. But the straight line to the finish line, knowing exactly that I'm going to win, that's the most joy. That is just, it's on-off. Like all the weight on yourself to completely relax. And when you win, everyone likes you. When you lose, no one likes you. It just comes with the territory, right? So it's just to relax. Yes, it's just all the hard work, all the hours that you did, it just paid off. And you never know when you're going to win again. So I don't think we should take wins for granted, even if you're in a great team. But there's always hard work to that moment. And that moment is addicting.
You are a good sleeper, but can you sleep after a big win? Or are you way too excited?
So it's a very hard thing that I have because I slept so much. I can go to sleep at midnight or 1 o'clock the day after, but all my teammates, they don't have this discipline. So literally by 9, they are falling apart because it's been like, it's not 24 hours because you wake up at 8 o'clock on the Saturday before. So they have 30 hours on the belt without sleeping and plus 8 hours of driving. They are exhausted. So I end up alone most of the time, with a beer or something. It's like when I win, obviously, it's just like, yay, it's a bit depressing, right?
And when you lose a beer and crying, probably.
Yeah, it's just it's just like satisfying at home. Normally in America, then at home it's already 4 o'clock in the morning. So literally it's a bit lonely sometimes, but again, I'm happy lonely there.
Yeah. Do we have more questions from people here, or can I continue? Okay, I'll continue. We have one from Luis Coelho. GT Academy brought drivers from video games to the track. The success was relative until now. How do you see this? Do you see it only as a PR stunt or a possible route for new drivers in the future?
I don't think in life you can shortcut success. So the reason why 90% of the drivers that are in Formula 1, or 99, or the best drivers, they all started in go-karts. It's exactly to be a CEO on a big, big company. You cannot skip school and go straight to the university without reading and expect that you will do well. Maybe one guy will come in thousands and thousands of drivers who will come and will do well eventually. But there is a reason why you need to go through those ladders. Like the car is complex. Like for me nowadays, it becomes natural to be driving the car, feeling it, and looking down sometimes to a button at high speeds. And in a simulator, it's never like that. And like we were talking before about simulator and real life, it's different. There is a difference. I don't want to kill the dreams of people, but because the really big downside of this sport is because it's super expensive. And to start, there is no other way than being you and your family to invest on it, which is sad, right? And I wish there would be another way. But it is like that because no one knows it's going to be like, will you have talent? When you grow up, will you want to just, chase down something else? Because again, there is a percentage that I started at 8 years old and I love racing. But at 16, when, motorbikes and university and so on, things like that, and the road, like I told you before, is long, it's just like you want to I want to do something else. It's okay to do something else, but it would be so unfair for that guy that starts so much later or in a simulator or whatever. It's just like, it's not unfair. It's so hard for him to come. You will have notions of it, but eventually will be lacking some of that experience that I lived for the past 20 years or something. So I think it's going to be very, very hard for a guy that just does simulator and then enters in the car and does exactly what a guy that did in real life, because there's those feelings and feeling the car sliding when it leaves the traction. You cannot feel that in a simulator. You can only feel in a real car, feeling the tire, how it rolls down on the tarmac, how does the curbs take, and the weight transfer. You don't feel weight transfer in a simulator. So all that thing, it's complex, and it's already in the drivers all of those years. In a sim, you will never get there. Although I'm not going to say that, tomorrow is going to arrive a sim racer and it kills everybody, but it's going to be hard.
Okay. Eduardo Ramos, how different is Acura from GM in the software department?
It's very different, and I cannot talk much about that because that's the holy grail by now. Obviously, we developed the Acura from scratch, me and Ricky, and we made the car exactly how we wanted. And now we are getting a car that is not ours, it's different, and it's going to be now ours, but we want to change the software a little bit here and there. But it doesn't happen from one day to the other. And because especially, it's a good example, like when we go now to Daytona, it's straight away the biggest race. You don't want to update a software that you don't know if it's going to do a bug later on during the 24 hours. So maybe you may as well start a foot back, from a few steps back, knowing exactly where we want to go. But we want to be there because we're going to bring the things that we know that it worked and it's not working here, obviously. And take, obviously, the good things that is working in GM, in Cadillac. So it's going to be a process. And let's say that me and Ricky, mainly, we already want to apply everything, but it needs to take time.
Okay. And now we have a question from José Veríssimo that to me just looks like a bunch of words, but I'm sure you will understand it.
Okay.
If 8/10 is a lot of gap on a lap, what is happening with Sergio Pérez?
Politics. It is politics.
Okay.
It is politics. It's just Formula One. The higher the level it is, the more money is involved, more other things are involved. We don't know the full story in defense of Paris. We don't know the full story, what's going on in the background, because for sure there's something going on. But by now, and especially Red Bull being Red Bull, this Dr. Marco, the guy that I talked to before, is just on numbers. In a normal situation, you would have been fired a year ago. Long time ago. And somehow he's still there. So he has something that is holding them to not fire him completely. And is that money? Is that inside information? I don't know what it is. But for sure, he's not there for the performance, and it's kind of clearly.
Okay. Elder Lourenço, how do you envision racing 15 years from now? Do you believe the sim racing world, and especially the esports scene, will have an impact on real racing?
It's already matching them. So there you have already sim racers, professional sim racers. I think the audience maybe will grow even more because there is more people. It's more accessible to people to drive than drivers to go on a sim and drive and do it well. I think in the end of the day, and a good example of that is now, for example, we have Formula E, electric cars. I think part of the emotion of a race car, of racing, is the noise of the engine. It's just something you cannot describe. You need to go there and see the car starts in front of you with a lot of noise. You almost feel the ground vibrating. It's just pure emotion, and that's what drags you to have sometimes a better car than the other one, even if they're exactly doing the same purpose, like taking from point A to point B, but with less emotion. When you have a car with emotion, with a car that is nice to drive, with a nice sound, it just takes you to a different dimension. That electric, I don't think it takes. And then when it's kind of fake, like simulation or whatsoever, well, not fake, but it's just a game, I don't know, you just don't take it as serious. And I give another example. I was in the grandstand. I went to see the MotoGP in Portimão, and the MotoGP passing, the noise was super loud. And it was, everyone got everyone's attention, and no one could be talking because that thing was making noise. You are focused on that. But in the meantime, there was a race of electric bikes. It was crazy. Like, there was people with the back to the track. They were not even looking at it. Again, I'm just looking what I've seen, okay? I'm not in favor or against. It's just interesting that it does not get your attention somehow. So I don't know if you need to fake noise on those on those electric things, but yeah, it's just different. I think if you get emotions, you get audience, and yeah, and goes in hand. So I don't know where you're going to end up, but we'll see.
I have a Seat Ibiza, so I know all about noise. It's really, yeah. João Soares e Silva, what motivated you, Filipe, from an early age to race?
Again, I think that feeling that you are in control and you're autonomous. Like I was 7 years old and I was alone doing whatever I want and driving a car. I think it's cool. The speed, the adrenaline, and the emotions that you have on that. I have my nephew now driving go-karts and once in a while. And when he's just trying to go faster and faster, he said like, I have something here, uncle, I have something here on my belly. It's just like butterflies coming up, like when I go up to speed. Isn't that cool? I don't know. It's just like, it's just weird. It's just like, it is, and then I get, I cannot breathe, and after the corner I laugh. And like, those are emotions. And it's exactly what some people love it, some people hate it. It's fine. But when you go through it, isn't that cool? I guess so, and it does not know yet because it does not. Is learning a new feeling, and once you start to, people get addicted to that. Like you see skydivers and radical guys and doing that. That's another level of fear for life or forever. But again, I think motions is what makes us alive.
Yeah, makes sense. Now we have one last question online. André Vaz, what is the track you like the most and why?
The track I like the most is the one I want. It's very simple, and I'll tell you why. I like Daytona. Obviously, I like a big event. Le Mans, it's a nice rhythm. Some tracks, like, there's a nice rhythm of like going around and you have fun. Road America in United States, near Chicago, it's very, very nice. But then ultimately, the track where you go, where you are the fastest because your car suits the best, or for example, Daytona, I tend to be just naturally fast in that track. It just comes to me. And for example, Sebring, it's a track that I like, but some reason there's one or two corners that doesn't click. It doesn't click. And I do it many times differently. It just doesn't come. It's just annoying. And by now in the team, it's just like, okay, you go qualify. I said to my teammate, you qualify and you finish the race eventually. And yeah, let's be teammates, right? Now it's for the team. You go ahead. So you just cannot connect. You don't understand that. But sometimes you're just fast in some other tracks, and automatically you like things that makes you happy and that connects with you and makes you better. So some of these tracks, automatically, yes, like Road America, I've been doing really, really strong there. I've been doing something that it seems like my competitors cannot do. So it makes me happy. So I love that track. So it's always, again, associated to when we are good. Yes.
Okay. Do we have one final question from here?
Oh,
Yeah.
over there.
Hi, Filipe.
Hello.
Thanks for this session. It was very enlightening from a professional driver's POV. You said earlier that the driver is also a sensor of the car, right? How can you tell the difference between the anxiety or adrenaline or simply not in your usual mood from actually your feeling as a sensor that something is not right? And how often is your sensor correct?
That's a very good question. That's a very good one. So that's true. So then it's down to the engineer to kind of know the driver and know if he's emotional or not. When we are in the track, we are emotional, and I shout at the engineer sometimes, like, just leave me alone, I need to be focused here. But outside, for example, we do a change on the car. And I ask my engineer, just don't tell me. Just don't tell me. I don't want to be biased by it. So, and I think should be no ego. And in the team, I say this, like, you do a change, and how was it? Exactly the same. And I couldn't tell the difference. And I think I need to be like that to say there is no problem on saying so, although it feels like amateur, but some changes, like, maybe they are not making the changes that were supposed to be done. But in the end of the day, if you are truth, if you are, if you leave the ego aside, I think you can achieve better, right? So I think no one is just the ultimate Superman, like doing everything right. I think there is no wrong in that. Although there is drivers that they are biased by the lap time they see, they went faster, but because the sun is coming down, the track gets better, and they change something. Yeah, this is so much better. It's like, nah, maybe not. Like, you need to test it again. And some guys, they just do like this or lie. Literally, this is much better. Where? And they start saying things that makes no sense. And obviously, along the line, they will be caught by the engineer. Well, makes no sense. And I can see in the telemetry that made no real gain or that. And sometimes it happened in the past that, yeah, this is better. But there was a bug that the engine started to go a little bit faster. And it's like, and then we just give him a hard time. You are such an amateur, like you couldn't even tell that the engine was better, and then he goes through a hard time because then he cannot accept that. And he denies obviously to the end. So yeah, I think having no ego, and when you feel it, yes, you say it. And when you don't feel it, it's just like, for me, it's the same. Like, I'm sorry, I cannot tell the difference. And like, normally they say, there is no problem. I can see if there is a difference or if there is no difference at all, or if you need to increase the change, like, for example, doing camber, if you change 0.2, it's one thing. If you put 0.6, yes, then you can start feeling it. So it's about doing the gauge of the change.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more?
Hi. You've done a lot of races in the United States, probably in Laguna Seca as well.
Sorry?
Laguna Seca.
Yes.
And in Spa.
Yes.
And we're talking about emotions, and this is just a petrolhead guy question.
Yes.
Can you take us through the corkscrew and the rouge?
Yes.
The emotions.
Corkscrew in Laguna Seca, for who does not know, it's a track in America, in California, near San Francisco, give and take. So it's a very famous corner that you come up completely blindly. You don't know exactly where you are. The braking is very hard because you go over the crest and you are around like 300. Anyway, we're always at 300 anyway. But when you brake and you go over the crest, you tend to lock the front wheels because the downforce is not there. And then you literally don't know where you're going because the car is kind of big, and you eventually try to hit. People do make a reference points, and there is a tree, but far away. You have no idea, like 300 meters away, and like you aim for the tree, and so you turn and you aim for the tree, and eventually, when you go down, you're exactly on the right time. I don't use the tree, and I say I just look left and I wait for the curve, but. again, people see different things, and you're trying to grab yourself on whatever reference you have, right? To do that, because when it goes down, the track really falls a lot. Like in real life, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like it's much more in real life than you expect when you're seeing on a television or whatsoever. And the car almost goes light, and then it compresses completely, and it touches the ground, and there is like big marks. And you want to put full throttle before it makes the contact, because you will have the full grip. And the car touches the ground, and it's a nice corner. And especially when you overtake there, it makes you feel like, yeah, you know, tough guy. Spa is a cool one, but I would say by nowadays, there is no skills on it, because cars have evolved and it's easy flat. Although the first times, it's like going down on a ski slope, flat out, and you know, you're just going head in there. And there is a big compression, which at least one of the engineers told me that the chassis, that is like a small thing, like, you know, like it goes on the driver goes, it kind of deflects on the bottom, like completely fitting on the track. And then it's a massive uphill, massive. And you don't know where you're going. And when you go up again, you do all this process between 260 to 240. And on the top, again, you get light again. And the first times you do, I get always a little bit like, again, my heart going up and down, and you feel like a bit dizzy. You don't breathe for a while, and until it gets a learning process to your body. You need to kind of teach your body that feeling. And it's a cool one, because when you do it and you do it always flat, and the car bottoms out, and it's cool. And a few years ago, we were lowering the car to go faster. And in Spa, it was a unique thing, because the lower you go, it's like putting two pieces of papers. Like I'm saying now a little bit of physics now. Anyway, if you put two blank pages, and if you do this, the pages come together, right? And that's downforce, right? So the lower the car is, the more downforce, the more grip you have. But in Spa, only in Spa, you need to be limited by the ride height of the car because of Eau Rouge, because the car bottoms so much there that the compression is so big, you lose control of the car and you crash. Tell you, I've seen huge crashes there. I have a few moments, but luckily it never happened to me. But you want to put the car low, and then when you go there, it's like you don't know how much it's going to bottom. And normally it's qualifying. And you know that you need to be flat out. So that moment and that approach to that corner, and once you are on the bottom, there is nothing you can do. Because lifting, the car will be loose. So you need to keep flat, because it's when the car gets more in control. And it's cool feeling that you need to do it. You don't know how it's going to be out. A lot can happen. And if it comes out, a big chunk of your worries is gone. And this is true. This is a true fact, like, at least when you're lowering it. But then in a race, it's just easy flat, and it's okay. It's just a nice carousel going on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We are getting closer to the end. Any more questions? No? Okay, we can wrap this up.
Yes.
Thank you, Filipe.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.